In the history of mankind, no event may be as devastating as World War II. Many of the contributors of the Allies' win are severely under-recognized. Codebreakers, though not in the thick of the battles of World War II, had an especially important role in turning the tides of the war, especially when they broke the unbreakable code. The solving of the Enigma code by Alan Turing in 1941 was a turning point in history because ultimately it saved the Allies from losing World War II, helped millions of people and soldiers to avoid being killed, and helped stop Hitler's extreme anti-Semitic ideas from spreading all over Europe. On September 3, 1939, World War II began when Nazi Germany, ruled by Adolf Hitler, invaded Poland. Shortly after, Britain and France both declared war on Nazi Germany. World War II was the Allied powers, which was Britain, the U.S., France, and the USSR, versus the Axis powers, Germany, Japan, and Italy. Adolf Hitler was the Chancellor of Germany. He had extreme anti-Semitic ideas that caused him to open labor and death camps for Jewish citizens. These death camps were horrible. At these camps, Jewish citizens of Europe were often starved, worked to death, shot, or gassed in the chambers. Hitler needed to be stopped, so World War II raged on. It's 2 years after the start of the war, and the French and British troops are losing badly. The U.S. had not yet entered the war, as they only enter after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Even though the U.S. had not yet entered the war, they were still sending supply ships full of food and weapons to the French and British armies. Unfortunately, most of these ships never made it to the French and British armies. This is because the supply ships were getting attacked by German U-boats in the Atlantic Ocean. German U-boats were submarine-like ships used by the German and Japanese armies during World War II. The German U-boats were able to find the American supply ships in the Atlantic Ocean because they had cracked the British and American codes. Once a German U-boat found an American supply ship, all of the supplies aboard would be stolen and the American ship sunk. The British Army was not able to intercept the German U-boats because they were not able to crack the German code, Enigma. The first Enigma machine was invented in 1918 by German engineer Arthur Shabais. He intended it for commercial rather than military purposes, though. However, it eventually ended up in the hands of the German military, Air Force, and Navy. The Enigma machine is often referred to as the unbreakable code because it has 159 quintillion different combinations it could have. Throughout the time period between World War I and World War II, the Enigma machine had gone under many renovations to make it even harder to crack. With Germany becoming even more aggressive, Polish engineers sought to crack the currently used model of the German Enigma machine. In 1933, Polish engineer Marian Rejewski came up with a device called the bomba, which used electrical wiring to sort through all the possible combinations for the Enigma's code and eventually could solve it in 2 hours. With the threat of a German invasion, Marian Rejewski and his colleagues had to make an escape to Britain. Before they did, they turned over all their info to British cryptanalysts. The Germans realized that their original Enigma machine had been compromised. To remedy this, the Germans implemented a new security measure. Instead of using the same 3 rotors every day, 3 rotors from a set of 5 would be chosen at random. Unfortunately, this change by the Germans rendered Marian Rejewski's and his colleagues' work on the Enigma machine outdated. However, it gave the new cryptanalysts something to go off of. Here is how the Enigma machine worked. The first thing that would need to be done is a German operator would send out a key to all his other German operators. This key would hold the starting positions for all the different rotors. All the Germans would then need to set their Enigma rotors to the starting position to correctly encrypt any messages they may receive. This is part of the reason why Enigma was so hard to crack. The rotors could have millions of different starting positions. Once you receive a letter you want to encrypt or decrypt, you type the first letter of the message into the keyboard. This will send an electrical signal throughout the Enigma's rotors. The first rotor will spin all the way around the 26 letters, then the second rotor will go, and the third rotor will go. If you're encrypting a letter, a light will then light up on the light board. If you are decrypting a letter, however, you have to wait for the electrical signal to go through all three rotors, then it has to get reflected back through the reflector and go through all three rotors again. Then a light will appear on the light board. Each light on the light board corresponds to a letter in the alphabet. In this case, the light that has lit up on the picture above corresponds to the letter N. You must repeat this process for every letter that you were encrypting or decrypting, so letters were usually kept short since this could take a long amount of time. The Allies were eager to have this code solved so they could read German messages. However, as described, it was not easy. This is why a top secret code-breaking group called Ultra was formed. Ultra was a top secret society in Britain dedicated to solving the Enigma code. They had chess masters, puzzle game masters, mathematicians, and scientists. As much as 10,000 people worked there, all dedicated to solving the Enigma code. Ultra was funded by the British government. Ultra's headquarters was located at Bletchley Park in Buckingham, England. Codebreakers worked at the historic Bletchley Mansion, led by mathematician Alan Turing, the eventual solver of the Enigma code. This is one of Alan Turing's actual journals that he worked in while solving the Enigma code. These are 117 pages full of his diagrams and mathematical equations. If you can see at the top of this journal page, he has drawn diagrams of the rotors of the Enigma machine showing his work. In order to solve Enigma, Alan Turing and his colleagues needed Enigma machines and code books from German ships and other military bases. In order to get these code books and Enigma machines, military chiefs and other high-ranking personnel would often come up with complex plots to get them, such as the one shown on the screen, written by Ian Fleming. This transcript, written by Ian Fleming, details a plan called Operation Ruthless to get a German Enigma machine. A group of soldiers would intentionally send out an SOS to the German soldiers aboard a rescue boat and crash a plane into the ocean. When they get picked up by the rescue boat, they kill all the soldiers aboard to capture the Enigma machine. This plan was approved by the British military, however, it was never put into effect. This shows, though, the great lengths the British military will go to solve the Enigma code. Finally, Alan Turing came up with an idea for a machine called the Bombay. The Bombay used mathematical permutations and will go through every possible code of that Enigma's possible key. The machine was wired to stop if any of the codes read as a key phrase in German, such as Hail Hitler. The people working at Bletchley Park would then go over to the machine and check to see if it actually formed a coherent message. If it did, that was the Enigma machine's key for the day. With the Allies now being able to read German messages, they could safely steer supply ships away from the German U-boats. With the British receiving supplies, they could fight back and turn the tide of the war. Had the machine not been cracked, Hitler's anti-Semitic ideas would have spread all over Europe and he would have won the war. Thanks to Alan Turing and his work on the Enigma machine, Hitler lost the war and millions of people were spared.